next episode of Knowing a Course, Knowing a Career in Australia and New Zealand. And today I'm going to talk to you about I think perhaps one of the most sought after profession and one of the most in demand job, that is to become a nurse. As you know, nurses are badly needed world over, and more so in the developed countries. And countries like the USA, for example, they have been attracting nurses for the last 50, 60 years, more than half a century. And they were followed suit by the European countries, especially UK, Ireland, and of course, there are nurses who go to countries like Germany and France, etc. Italy, for example. So if you look at it, there are hardly any major country in the world that do not need nurses, that do not experience significant shortage of nurses. Now, coming down to Australia and New Zealand, of course, these two countries have significant demand for people with nursing skills. And each year, perhaps Australia and New Zealand provides the maximum number of work visas and migration visas to to a profession. And if you single out a profession, that would, I suppose, would be nurses. So nurses get perhaps one of the best deals in terms of career, employment, and migration in these parts of the world. And therefore, nursing also is one of the most popular courses for students who seek their future education and career in Australia and New Zealand. And therefore, it is pertinent to look at what nursing looks like, pretty much. And as always, we will look at look at the various qualifications that can lead to nursing, becoming a nurse professionally, and then we will also look at the prerequisites and perhaps other related interesting and important facts. So to start with, there are three ways of becoming a nurse. First of all, at the lowest level, it would be to become an enrolled nurse, which requires you to complete a diploma of nursing. And diploma of nursing commences soon after your senior secondary, +2 or AS levels, depending on the stream of school education you come from. So with a senior school certificate, you can enroll to become to complete your diploma of nursing. And diploma of nursing takes 2 years to complete, and at the end of it, you could become an enrolled nurse. Now, you're not a registered nurse. That's the difference. So becoming a registered nurse is perhaps the most important option, or the most, most attractive option that students have. To become a registered nurse, you must have a bachelor's degree, bachelor qualification, or level 7 qualification in Australia and in New Zealand. So it has to be a Bachelor of Science or in nursing, or Bachelor of Health in nursing, or Bachelors of Nursing. It could be called any of those names. But at the end of the day, it is a 3-year degree. So if you study for 3 years, you can become a nurse, registered nurse in Australia and in New Zealand. Now, you certainly have to study chemistry in your senior secondary classes. You must also have mathematics. But unlike medicine, where mathematics is mandatory, nurses or people intending to become a nurse can come from backgrounds where you did not study mathematics. So, for example, in many countries, people preparing for health science and medicine, for example, they may not study mathematics. They go for biosciences and chemistry and physics normally. But coming back to nursing requirements, if you don't have mathematics, or if you do not study mathematics, then it becomes a prerequisite for you to study maths in your first semester when you start your Bachelor of Nursing. Yeah, you heard it right. If you don't come from a mathematics background, you have to study mathematics in the first semester. And what's also interesting is that for both Diploma of Nursing as well as for Bachelors of Nursing, students from non-science stream could also be accepted. Yes. So if you have studied humanities, or if you have studied commerce, or IT or other streams in your senior secondary, and did not study chemistry and mathematics at all, you may still be considered to be admitted to a nursing program, be it at a diploma level or or for a bachelor's program. Now that is interesting because what if you had a change of mind, or what if you had a late realization that your stream of subjects that you decided to study in senior secondary years would not take you to a career, or would not afford a career that you desire for yourself. So yes, you're more than welcome to consider studying nursing in Australia and in New Zealand. And certainly, as always, iQuery can help you understand the process, understand the requirements, and of course, we can guide you not only to the universities, but also throughout the studies, and then eventually to your nursing career. And perhaps, if you are aiming for migration, certainly our registered migration consultants can help you complete your process of studies, work visa, and then migration visa as well. Now, coming back to nursing again, the third way of, or the third option of, third pathway to become a registered nurse in Australia and New Zealand is to do nursing at a master's level. Yes, you have graduate entry programs for nurses. So if you come from pretty much any degree background back home in your country, let's say you have a graduation, you've completed your graduation in information technology, engineering, or maybe any other degree. As a matter of fact, you could still be considered to study a master's, Master of Nursing. And this Master of Nursing is pre-registration. So the difference between the Master of Nursing normal, standard, and for those graduate entry program is that if it's a standard Master of Nursing, it is meant for practicing nurses. Whereas Master of Nursing pre-registration is meant for people who do not have a nursing degree and who actually want to change their career. It's a kind of a career change program where you may come from any other background and then apply to study nursing for 2 years. So at a graduate level, at a postgraduate level, you have to study only for 2 years. So be it in Australia or in New Zealand, your master's in nursing to become a registered nurse is only a 2-year study, whereas a bachelor degree would be 3 years. So if you've completed your bachelor's in biology, for example, in your home country, you could certainly apply for a 2-year master's in nursing. And again, we can help you with that. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please do get in touch with us so that we can get you started on the right foot right from the beginning. Now, what do you need to get into these programs? Of course, you certainly need fairly high grades in your senior secondary years. So if you have 70% of marks or more, in your home country, no matter what school background you come from, you have a very good chance of getting accepted into a diploma or a bachelor's program. To go into the master's program, you must have very high grades, especially in the last 2 semesters of your bachelor's program. So academic requirements or grade requirements are there for these courses, and it could vary slightly from university to university and the provider to provider, basically. Now, what else do you need? I think one of the key criteria that all nursing aspirants would have or should have is your English language proficiency. Now, this is something that is totally non-negotiable. You must have, if you were to study nursing in Australia, you will have to have at least a band 7 in IELTS academic test in listening, reading, writing, and speaking. In each one of them, you must score 7. And you must have minimum overall 7, of course, if it is in Australia. Now, this is where it becomes a bit interesting because just in case you miss that band 7 mark, in IELTS or PTE or whichever other test that you may apply for, opt for, that could include OET, Occupational English Testing, is also accepted for studies in nursing. And you certainly need to score band 7 or equivalent of IELTS band 7 in whichever other test or acceptable test that you would appear at. Now, for New Zealand, what is interesting is that you may get band 6.5. So even if you score zero point 0.5 less than 7, you still have the same opportunity of becoming a nurse in New Zealand. So New Zealand universities would accept you with an IELTS score of 6.5 minimum, but anything below 6.5 will not be acceptable. So effectively, you must have at least 6.5 to study nursing in New Zealand, and you must have 7 to study nursing in Australia. Now, Australia and New Zealand, as you know, I think we have indicated this many times. We share similar standards for professions, and therefore the ANZCO, Australia and New Zealand career codes or professional codes are the same for nursing. For an enrolled nurse in both these countries, you must have a diploma of nursing. For a registered nurse, you must have a bachelor's or a master's in a graduate entry nursing program. So that's a basic summary of what you have to study. Now, after studies, you have 2 bodies to get you the approval. So NMBA, it is the Nursing and Midwifery Board, for accreditation, provides you the registration as a nurse in Australia, whereas the New Zealand Nursing Council is the body that provides you with the nursing registration in New Zealand. So you must have registration, or you must gain registration after successfully completing your bachelor's or master's program or diploma program in New Zealand and in Australia. And when you apply for migration in Australia, which for nurses would be fairly easy, shorter, quicker, and swifter as far as migration is concerned in both Australia and New Zealand. And for migration, again, you need a skill assessment to be, or an assessment document from APRA, Australian Health Professional Registration Authority. So APRA assesses your registration for migration. So between APRA and NMBA, you will be able to sort out your paperwork. And again, our migration team will be able to help you with these things when you are into the system. Now, what if you are a nurse trained outside Australia or New Zealand? Now, in the past, it used to be fairly simple, straightforward, but things have gone really complex and complicated. First of all, you have to gain, approval of equivalency from the respective nursing bodies in Australia and New Zealand, and where they will confirm that you have met the requirements of practicing nursing in these 2 countries. And that could include, but not limited to, your your assessment of your qualification, your English language credentials, and of course, you will also have to get equivalence from NCLEX and other requirements. So for both countries, there are slightly different requirements. It's fairly complex, as far as the process is concerned. It can take a lot of time. But what is also interesting is that once you complete that, then you will have to take an assessment. You have to get through an assessment system where you have a theory component and a practical component. And if you get through these 2 theory and practical assessments successfully, that is when you'll be granted a registration, nursing registration. And of course, yes, if you get your registration, you will have a job pretty much within a week or so. You could be getting a job. And in many cases, we have seen nurses completing the process, getting a job, the day they complete the process. Now, when you study in Australia and New Zealand, what gets better is that from the first year or from the second year latest, you will be in a position to work in hospitals. We have a lot of our students working, at hospitals in patient care, in assisting, doctors, or working as nursing assistants. So there are quite a lot of jobs available, especially when you have 24 hours of work that you can do during a week in Australia, and 20 hours of work, part-time work in New Zealand. working in the health sector pays you way more than the minimum wages of around 23 to $25. Nurses also get, and even when you work part time, nurses also get the benefit of working outside business hours, because there are no nursing shifts that will run from morning 8 to evening 4:30, which is the typical office hours in these countries. So whether you work before 8 o'clock or after 4 o'clock, yeah, you would certainly get what we call loading, or you will get penalty rates. So that will be, that will be more than your minimum wages, and quite easily, like at the a nurse with 1 or 2 years of experience could be earning over $100,000 in these two countries. When you include the night shifts and the work they do during Sundays and public holidays, for example, during weekend and public holidays. And of course, yes, there are many nurses who get to work a lot of extra hours through overtime. Well, there's a lot of money in this profession. It's hard job. It's very important. It's extremely important for the health sector in these two countries. It's a highly respected, well-regarded job. Now, once you complete your nursing registration, once you start practicing, you don't necessarily have to stay put with nursing. Nursing also offers a lot of pathways into research. We have seen, like if you look at health sector, almost 30 to 40% of the research would be conducted by nurses, trained and registered nurses. So if you have research interest, nursing is a great way to get into your future research career. And of course, with a master's in nursing, there will be plenty of universities that would require you to work as a lecturer. So you could get into teaching, you could get into tutoring, you can become a nursing tutor, you can become a community nurse, you could work as a school nurse. So you don't necessarily have to be in a theater, in other words, right? But at the same time, there are people who can get into like jobs like, basically like setting up the system, setting up the theater, or yeah, another sector where nurses are high in demand would be in the aged care and community care sectors. So nurses do not just work in hospitals; they work in pretty much every walk of life. So as a nurse, you could be picking the kind of lifestyle you want to choose, the kind of work you want to do, and the hours that you want to work. And most important, nursing jobs are available far and wide. Especially a country like Australia, there are plenty of nursing jobs available in very remote, extremely remote communities, maybe about 800 kilometers away from the nearest town, for example. And the advantage of working in those rural or remote areas is that it would cover, those packages would actually cover all expenses paid except for your food. So effectively, your travel, accommodation, your bills, they're all covered in those packages. And of course, you'll be paid very, very well, quite handsomely, in those positions. So especially if you're a young person who is willing to travel, explore, and have different types of lifestyles, yes, Australia and New Zealand offers great opportunities. The significant difference between working in the UK or Canada would be that, look, predominantly, like these countries are much colder than Australia. And in Australia, especially, you could be working in perhaps in a desert, you could be working in a tropical area, or you could be working in a very European environment, like in perhaps cities like Melbourne, as an example. So, what nurses get, in short, is world class qualifications, uh, immediate jobs soon after, or just even before you complete your graduation, fairly high, well paid, jobs, handsome salaries, well regarded job, and various other pathways, post nursing pathways. So you could even become a prescription nurse, where you could be prescribing medicines in medical centers where we don't have doctors. So you can do those kind of specializations. So kind of a semi doctor, that's what you could become. Well, there's a lot more about nursing, but I think for a introductory video, this is perhaps, this covers pretty much all the key points of nursing, education, and career, and working conditions and opportunities in Australia and New Zealand. And as always, we will include more information based on your request and your feedback. So please don't forget to provide your feedback. Please don't forget to subscribe us. And of course, please don't forget to share it with those people who you really care and who could benefit from this kind of information. And as always, iQuery and our team will be there to help you should you wish to consider your nursing careers in either Australia or New Zealand. One last thing. Now, if you are a qualified registered nurse in either of the countries, Australia or in New Zealand, you could practice, you could work, you can find work in the other countries. So if you become a registered nurse in New Zealand, you could certainly come over to Australia and work here because nursing registration is mutually recognized. So one career, one qualification, one skill, but you have two job markets. Isn't it wonderful? So I hope this benefited you well. And everyone aspiring, awaiting results, good luck to you. And if you're aspiring to study in Australia or New Zealand, especially in nursing, do get in touch with us. We have some of the best offers to you, study options for you with some phenomenal scholarships. Everything else in person once you get in touch with us. Thank you so much and good luck.